So who's really in charge of the police? Is it the politician setting the big picture policy? Or is it the commissioner who's actually commanding the officers on the street? Today, we're jumping right into a huge clash that puts that exact question on trial. And believe me, it reveals a massive fault line in how a country is policed. This isn't just some turf war, you know? This is a fight for the very soul of law enforcement. Okay, just imagine you're the National Police Commissioner. You're the top cop. And you get this message. It's a direct, no-nonsense order from the Minister of Police. Not to review the team, not to reform it, but to shut it down. Immediately. And just like that, a single sentence kicks off a constitutional firestorm.
And get this, the team that's on the chopping block, this wasn't some unit that was failing, not at all. According to the commissioner's own testimony, this team had an unmatched success rate, tackling some of the absolute toughest and most dangerous crimes in the nation. So you have to ask, right? Why on earth would you shut down a winner?
And this, right here, is the heart of the conflict we're digging into. It's a puzzle that forces us to look at the very laws that are supposed to build a wall between political desires and actual police work. Where does one person's power end and the other's begin?
So to really get what's at stake here, we first have to understand what this team was all about. This was no ordinary police unit. We're talking about a multi-agency powerhouse created specifically to stop a rising tide of politically motivated violence. Yeah, the Political Killings Task Team, or PKT, was basically a law enforcement supergroup. You had police investigators, top prosecutors, intelligence agents from the SSA, and even people from correctional services, all working together. This whole integrated model was designed for one thing, to make sure their cases were absolutely rock solid from the very beginning. And their workload, it was just immense. Right from the get-go, the team was handed more than 600 dockets. And these weren't simple cases, you know. We're talking complex webs of conspiracy, threats, and political violence. Now, out of that huge caseload, the team managed to finalize almost 300 cases. And finalize means they brought it to a real conclusion, a guilty verdict, an acquittal, whatever it might be. In the world of these kinds of investigations, that is a seriously impressive success rate.
And their work wasn't just about courtroom victories. Through their intelligence-led ops, the team took more than 250 illegal firearms off the streets. And think about it, every single one of those guns represents a potential life saved. That's a direct, real-world impact.
So with a track record like that, how could a minister just order them to be shut down? Like, immediately? Well, to figure that out, we have to look at the actual law that defines the relationship between the police minister and the national commissioner. Okay, this right here is the heart of the legal fight. It's Section 207(2) of the Constitution. It says the commissioner manages the police based on two things: national policing policy and directions from the minister. But that one word, directions, that's where it all gets messy. What does that word actually mean in practice?
This breakdown explains the difference perfectly. The commissioner himself put it this way. The minister sets the what. They can say, hey, cash and transit heists are a national priority. You need to deal with this. That's a policy direction. But it's the commissioner who decides the how. You know, how many officers to assign, what equipment they need, and the specific tactics they'll use on the ground.
So this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Does the minister's order to disband a team immediately fall under the what or the how? Is telling the police to stop a specific operation and do it right now a matter of policy? Or is it stepping over the line right into the commissioner's operational command?
All of this tension really boiled over during this fascinating and, honestly, super tense moment in the commissioner's testimony. He was asked a simple, direct question: would you obey an unlawful order? And his first answer says it all. It depends. That hesitation, it just shows you the incredible pressure a police commissioner is under. It's not just a legal question. He himself called it a career-limiting one. In other words, saying no could literally cost him his job. Then he went on to explain, saying that even if an order was technically outside the minister's power, he might actually follow it, if the reasoning was good enough. It just goes to show you how blurry that constitutional line can get in the real world.
But then when he was pressed, really pressed, on what legal basis he could possibly have for obeying an unlawful order, all that ambiguity just disappeared. The commissioner drew a firm line in the sand. If an instruction is clearly, without a doubt, outside the minister's authority, he would not obey it. Full stop.
You know, this whole crisis wasn't just about defending territory. The commissioner actually used the success of the PKT as a perfect model,
a blueprint for how policing governance should be fixed to stop these kinds of conflicts from ever happening again.
His main argument was all about getting clarity and unity. He basically said that the command structure for the country's elite investigative units had to be streamlined to shield them from political interference and make it crystal clear who's in operational control.
He used the DCI, who you probably know as the Hawks, as a prime example. As it stands, their head has this dotted line reporting relationship to the commissioner, but a solid line straight to the minister. His proposal? Simple. Flip it. Make that line to the commissioner solid and remove the direct reporting line to the minister. That way, the unit is insulated from political pressure.
And he summed up his whole argument with this fantastic analogy. When you're talking about command and control, you can't have a divided system. It has to be all or nothing if you want it to be effective and truly accountable.
Which brings us to our final and really critical question. We insulate the police from political influence to make sure they're impartial, right? But does that create a risk of having a police service that's too independent? A power all on its own with no democratic oversight? That is the fundamental balancing act at the heart of modern policing. And let me tell you, there are no easy answers.